Welcome everybody to another episode of CEOpen Mic. Today we are recording from Marbella, beautiful Spain. So as you can see, we are experimenting with different formats of the podcast, and you may expect more to come in the future. Typically, I start with introducing my guest, but the guy I'm talking to today needs no introduction. So let me just tell you, Adam Roebuck is with us today. You know what? Why don't you try to introduce yourself? What is it that you do right now professionally? Why would everybody know about it? Why is it so important?
Yeah, so Adam Roebuck, owner, CEO, El Presidente of the Gaming Operations Academy, which used to be the Totally Gaming Academy in a past life. We do public training, bespoke training, private training, consultancy to the gaming world. Mostly aimed at operators, but obviously the B2Bs come along to the training as well because they need to understand from a product or a sales point of view of what the pain points and the trials and tribulations of an operator are and how they're built. So they come along to the training. And
you are in a pretty good position to teach other people because you've been into industry for quite a while now, right?
Yeah, so well over a decade now. But I don't generally do these things. I don't generally do the training. I just surround myself. I'm just the good-looking guy, right? We surround ourselves with industry experts, right? Mm-hmm. Most of them well-known, others not so well-known, but experts in their field who can actually deliver the training in a much more fun, engaging way, right? So, in fact, none of the training is delivered by myself, mm-hmm. except some sales training. Privately with some of the B2Bs. Mm-hmm. We surround ourselves by the experts, right? You've got to surround yourself by the experts. You can't be something to everybody.
All right. And in terms of geos, you don't just operate here in Spain, right? We are talking here in Spain, but
Yeah. So geographically, I mean, we do very little business in Spain compared mm-hmm. to the rest of the world, even though we're a Spanish company, right? Mm-hmm. We operate in Central Europe. We're very, very big in Latin America and Brazil. I treat the two markets actually, even though Brazil is part of Latin America, and we can go through the pros and cons of that. But Brazil is its own separate market, and so it should be, mm-hmm. right? North America, from a land-based point of view, we've always been quite big in North America, and Africa. Asia is a very complicated market, right? From a language point of view, from what you can and can't do in Asia. Our Asian clients generally have private training, mm-hmm. or they come along to some of the English language training that we do globally to try and get an idea of what's happening in these markets over here.
So how would that work? Let's say I want to set up a new game studio. Mm-hmm. I know nothing about the market. I only heard from my friends that there's a shitload of money to be done. And I'm like, okay, so there's this guy, Adam. He runs this company. I want to talk to him because he's an expert, or the guys he's hiring are the experts. So what happens next?
Yeah, so look, all depends about your team and your experience, right? So if you are setting up your game studio and you've already been swimming in that space, I doubt you'd probably set up a game studio and have zero experience, knowledge of the gaming industry. Well, if you know nothing, then this is what sort of happens to a lot of the startups that come along to our training, not just game studios, but operators as mm-hmm. well, is that they pick a title such as the Online Gaming Management Masterclass or the Online Sportsbook Fundamentals courses, which are sort of 101 training, mm-hmm. Intensive training masterclasses, okay, which will give you a nice rounded view and also a deep dive into the mathematics, into the regulation, into the marketing, what's needed, what's funding, etc. And a number of those businesses which have come along to the Online Gaming Masterclass per se actually come away with like a business case to actually begin their business journey mm-hmm. into opening up their online casino business, right? Mm-hmm. A number of them also walk away and go, holy crap, we're not ready for this, right? Mm-hmm. We fought. Mm-hmm. We had a plan, we had a business plan, we've done a bit of research into this because it's a lot of money to set something up like this, right?
But it's not that easy.
And it's not that easy, right? Mm-hmm. And they come along to some of this training, they come away with more questions than answers, but actually they're walking away saving themselves a whole bunch of hassle and pain and stress and money from actually learning from what we're teaching within these live consultative masterclass sessions, right?
So you're the guy who takes away the business from all those poor B2B providers who want to make some money on those operators and game studios and all of these people who think that iGaming is so easy, and they saw all those Lamborghinis and all those Rolls Royces around the conferences. So you're the guy who will tell them, nah.
Well, I mean, quite the opposite, really, right? We're here to sort of help, assist, get people to make the right choices, yeah? And we partner to make the training sort of less death by PowerPoint. And, for instance, we partner with platforms and KYC providers, et cetera, to actually enhance the training, right? It obviously lowers the price to the operator because, there's the knowledge partner sponsorship money that comes into that. But actually what we do is it's less about the money, but more about the engagement and making the training more realistic, right? So we will partner with not the biggest or the best, but the people that offer the best customer service and something new and quirky about their platform or technology that they're providing, right? To enhance the training. So, for instance, on an online gaming masterclass style of training, or the affiliate management training. The affiliate management training, we partner with Filka from Soft Swiss, also Raven Track on some of the other stuff, and they give us access to their platforms. Same as Optimove as well, right? So they give us access to the back end of their platforms, maybe even a really cool dummy platform. And when our clients, the participants, the individuals, come along to these masterclasses, they sort of log into the back end of it, right? And yes, we're demonstrating that platform, but what we're actually trying to do is have this hands-on experience by inputting data, inputting games. So actually the training becomes super realistic. And relevant, and, they're clicking along and they're dragging data in from here. They're trying to work out who their VIPs are, who the responsible gambling flags are as well, how to push games, how it's all working. And it's much more better than just, a trainer. We're trying to get away from the whole death by PowerPoint where, here's a photo of a platform and here's a photo of this and it's coming up and that's bloody boring.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't make any sense. So actually, to answer that question, I completely get what you, and it can be seen to be like that. But actually, what do you want? Do you want a hit and run customer? Which is, funded rather badly, makes the bad decisions, purchase your platform, then may, depending on your purchasing model, whether it's a money up front thing or it's a subscription model to whichever piece of technology that you're purchasing, what type of customer do you want? Do you want a customer which has a customer journey life cycle of a year, 2 years, 3 years, or a customer which has a life cycle of 3 months and they probably bolt not paying the bills depending on, So it's actually helping the B2Bs actually have a much more sustainable customer base as well. But now, no doubt a lot of people will be kicking me in the ass going, how many customers are you actually costing us now, right?
No. To be serious, I'm just teasing you. I mean, our philosophy at Create IT is that if our clients grow, then we can grow as well. Because, they're going to be reaching, they're going to be happy that the more business they're going to bring to us. So.
No, I like your teasing because it got me a chance to plug a couple of our customers.
Since I do know a lot of operators, I do know a lot of game studios, I do know a lot of affiliation based around affiliation companies. I do not know many companies which are into training. I would even guess that you're the only one that I heard about.
No. So there's a number. So this is rather debatable, right? But the Total Gaming Academy back in the day, which we're the phoenix from the ashes of that, right? That started out probably 14 or so years ago. Lucien Weissman had a company called the Slot Summit, and it was a beautiful little conference, stage one, what I call a stage one type of conference, where you get a hotel room, 100 or 200 people in there, and a couple of tabletop sponsors, and when I was working at Clarion, which are famous for their ICE event, they purchased said Slot Summit because obviously it was a beautiful add-on to the Ice brand, right? And it gave the land-based. It still kept them in bed with the land-based, and in a more of a intimate setting as well, right? Because when there's an event, and we probably talk about this later, right? We've all just come back from SBC Lisbon, and we're going to be walking into a behemoth event in January. In Barcelona with Clarion's Ice, and when there's 30, 40, 50,000 people there, you've got to be on top of your game in order to network with people and what have you. But smaller events are also super important, right? Because if the right job titles are in the room for 2 or 3 days, you stand a much bigger, better chance of speaking to the CEO of X company who's sitting 2 seats down from you than trying to find him in a sea of people rushing around trying to get into meetings and things, right? Attached to that summit was a training business, and it sort of really only specialized at the time, and quite rightly so, in land-based slot machines, right? So the promotion of slot machines, the games, where do you position your slot machines within your casino and what have you. And of course, when we purchased that business, there was this, we've got this training business, what can we do with it? Is it a square peg in a round hole, or does it complement things like, the Ice brand, And Paul Mills and myself, we were looking into, adding into the, iGaming's a thing now, so why don't we do training on iGaming, and why don't we do training on sportsbook, and why don't we actually sort of just, then responsible gambling and things like that, and moving with the times. Most training businesses out there, and there's a lot. Some of them are actually attached to B2B anti-money laundering companies, KYC providers, etc. Fraud detection businesses, and they are very heavily centric around compliance, right?
Yep.
So there's multiple training companies which you'll see when you wander around these exhibitions like SBC and Clarion's events and Next events, where they are, there's a training business there, but they are compliance led, right? The 2 major players, okay, and I'll plug them because they're a wonderful team, great friends of mine. We you could say we're competition, but actually we pass business to each other, right? And we try and not step on each other's toes because we actually want to benefit the market, rather than tackle each other, right?
The market is big enough anyway.
The market's big enough, and we've all grown up in this market, right? And we all know each other, and we're all trying to do the same thing. We're all aiming for, a well-respected, mature market that does things for the right way, and we're all growing and we're all having fun together. So it's the iGaming Academy, and it's the Gaming Operations Academy. We do the operational, and I think that's where your question was going, right? About there's hardly any operational training. Compliance, e-learning, and all that, the tick box exercise to make sure you keep your gaming license. Lots of. The actual operational side of trying to, the live operational side where you're actually trying to get that extra 1 to 10% improvement, business process improvement style training. The 2 major players are us. I might have missed an obvious one, but actually it's just the iGaming Academy and also the Gaming Operations Academy.
Gotcha. I want to focus on one particular moment, which you mentioned already. That was the moment where you said that Clarion decided to go into that direction. But in your company, as far as I know, there's no Clarion anymore.
No. So COVID happened. The events industry, as well as their parent company, Blackstone, like many organizations, right, we're very exposed to their products being face-to-face, in-person style events, and lo and behold, the doors were shut and you couldn't get out there, right? And there was a time there where you have to draw a line to try and save the core business, and the Total Gaming Academy, Gaming Operations Academy, came in question. My time at Clarion, was probably coming up anyway, because I don't fit well in big corporates. you know.
Let me stop you there, because my little theory, I talked to lots of founders already here in the podcast, and my little theory is that you basically get two types of the people in the industry, in any industry, not just in iGaming. You either have people who feel perfectly fine as an employee, that could be even higher CEO, and founders. Founders are made different. I don't think they could fit into any kind of organization. Small, big one, doesn't really matter. And your story, I stalked you a little bit, of course.
You're the window licker outside, right?
Yep. And your story is that you've been working in a number of companies along your professional career. And if I'm not mistaken, what you do now is one of the first things that you do as a founder.
No. So,
okay.
Long story short, my first business was when I was, 12, 13.
Okay.
And
that's not on LinkedIn, okay.
Yeah. And it was at school, right? And we were the price of tomato ketchup in the school canteen went up, right? And it went up to something like 15 pence a sachet now. In the 90s, that was extortionate, right? My father, who's a small businessman, still with us. He had access to a cash and carry style business called Macro, right? So we would buy lots of stock and stuff from Macro.
I can see where it's
and
going.
I noticed, you could buy a giant pack of tomato sauce or any brand, right? But tomato sauce sachets for 0.5 pence, right? You could buy like 1,000 of these things, and the unit price was that. So my first entrepreneurship, I suppose, what you'd say, I bought them and sold them on the black market at school, and to the point where even the teachers were coming up to me at lunchtime doing secret ketchup deals under the table, because they were also equally as pissed off that the second business was selling counterfeit school uniform.
Okay.
The only problem with those was when you washed the school polo shirt 3 or 4 times, the actual logo went pink because we were sort of ironing on these logos. Then when everybody else was selling cigarettes at school at 50 pence a cigarette, well, I was working in the transport industry back then at 15, getting lorry drivers bringing in cigarettes and booze, and I was actually selling, cartons of thousands of cigarettes to the kids' parents and also to the teachers themselves, right? The first business. So I grew up in Spain, right? I spent a lot of time up until I was 8 years old. Growing up in Tenerife, a lot of people would say, it was sort of what the Americans do. You summer in Florida, you winter in Florida, and you summer in the Hamptons. We were wintering in Tenerife, and then of course educated in Nottingham, because you have to be educated somewhere. And when you get to about 8 years old, like, people knock at the door and go, "Where's this person being educated?" Right? Went through schooling in Nottingham in England, famous for Robin Hood, Brian Clough, Nottingham Forest. If you're into football, was supposed to be in the transport industry, right, logistics and things. Okay, started in the warehouse. They realized that I was loading trucks at 15 in a much more logical way, getting more freight, mathematically beating the maths, right? Because this was before we had computers, right? But actually beating the maths and working out I could get more freight on because their models were wrong. Went into the office, and then lo and behold, when I was about 18, 19, I just stood up in that office and I looked around at my colleagues and realized I was the youngest by about 20 years and didn't want to die there, right? And never really settled in England. I'm a bit of a nomad, proud Irishman, but spent very little time in Ireland, if any, when you look at it. And I just looked up and I thought, I need to get out here. Packed that job and came to Spain. Literally jumped in my car on the Friday, told my parents I'm moving to Spain, right? Mainland Spain, Almeria. And saying that, I've got a little present for you. Oh, yeah, you can open that later in the podcast or do whatever you need to do.
Oh, wow.
It's just a little something. from our area in Spain, a little plate.
That doesn't TikTok.
It's cash to make sure I'm edited and filtered right in this podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate
it. So
I
moved to Spain and on my own, without any friends or family, because it's mainland Spain, and got a job on a building site initially, right, to learn the language and what have you, and then literally within a year, I'd started my first official business, which wasn't contraband tomato sauce or anything on the black market. And that was one of the first online-only estate agencies in Andalusia at the time, right? And we're dealing with crappy internet and dial-up and stuff, right? So that was really the first time I'd started a business. Then there were bars.
I thought you were employed in that business.
No,
but that was
I owned
actually
that business,
yours.
my business.
Okay.
Yeah, my business. Yeah.
How
And
did
it was an interesting thing, right? Because trust was a massive issue. Because people were so used to coming out on inspection trips, seeing a grand office being picked up from the airport in big Mercedes-Benzes and things like that. And, they go on these 3-day trips to look at half-built properties on a golf course or something like that, So trying to do that, with a smart car, which is lettered up, you had to build within your sales process, and yourself, right? You had to demonstrate integrity and trust, because these people were not walking into an office. So yeah, and then then we opened a bar as well. So actually, that was the first official business, and then in all the other companies that I've worked for, if I've actually worked for them, the majority of them I've been a contractor as a self-employed individual.
All right. All right.
Mostly because you must be absolutely bonkers to employ me on the payroll, right? I mean,
actually, that was the very, very, very reason why I asked that question. The people that I know who ever founded any size of the business, any type of the business, whenever they try to go and be on anybody's payroll, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. Sooner or later, either they're burnt out, or they simply stop delivering, or whatever. So that makes me wonder, how did you end up in Clarion in the first place? I mean,
yes, and really interesting, right? So we're talking about the estate agency and the bar, right?
Yeah,
and the global financial crisis here. I mean, we did really well. I mean, I was 21, 20 to 25, and you take somebody out to see one house, and they buy 20 off plan, right? I mean, and we were doing really, really well with the money. Luckily, I didn't go down the route of buying massive flashy cars and houses and things. We were reinvesting it into the business, right, and growing the team and things like that. The global financial crisis hit, and it hit Spain and particularly Almeria, Andalusia, really bad, right? I mean, we're only just feeling, regardless of COVID, we're actually in Almeria, we're only just really, if we're being honest, getting out of that shadow. It took us a long time. Madrid, very different story. It's a bit like London and the rest of the UK, right? Works at two different speeds, right? But so, nobody was coming to buy houses because they couldn't get loans. Nobody was selling their houses, so they couldn't buy cash, right? Or if they were selling their houses, they were doing it to keep their shirts on their back, right? And I was so exposed, I tried to be clever by having the bar as well as a different income to the other business, but then all of a sudden something like that happens, and you've got no tourism, you've got nobody buying houses, right? So you're sitting there with an empty bar, and I managed to sort of make sure everybody who we made redundant and let go, they were paid and paid well, because this part of Spain is just so small, right? And if you screw somebody over, it gets around the village and what have you, right? And it's actually the right thing to do. So, I put even in my own money in my own bank account away from the company I was paying people, making sure I tried to find them jobs and things like that. And then I was just left with I still actually own the estate agency, but we just do my own portfolio now, right? of properties. But I was just sort of standing behind the bar, and a telephone call sort of came in from Australia. Mm-hmm. And one of my friends out there was running an events company and said, what are you doing? I went, sort of
getting drunk.
Getting drunk off my own. But there's probably no money to actually to refill the bottles, right? Yeah. So it was a case of, why don't you just drop everything and come here? Turn your back on it. He said, like, if you look at what's going to happen with that economy, it's going to be slaughtered, you know? So it's not going to get any better anytime soon. So why don't you come and help me over in Australia? So I went across to Australia. Very fortunate. I got a 357 visa, a working business visa, mm-hmm. and got into events. And this was the journey of getting into the gaming industry. So mm-hmm. we were doing multiple different events, not gaming. In Australia, we were doing healthcare and finance and oil and gas and mining and things like that. And Australia wasn't hit by the global financial crisis. Mm-hmm. So that kept the wolves from the door of not being to pay my mortgage or anything like that, because I was completely on my arse, mm-hmm. right? And suddenly everything was fine, right? And we could pay them. I could send the money back and pay the mortgage and get back on my feet. And what was only supposed to be a year turned into 5 years, and the PR letter came through, the permanent residency letter. Huh. And of course you jump at that because it's like gold. But then I had this moment, this epiphany moment, where actually, what am I doing in my life? I'm in my mid-30s, or early 30s actually. And this was never the plan. Okay. And Australia, I love Australia, right? It was my university, mm-hmm. you know. Learned so much about real business, world business, you know, in Sydney. And beautiful people. I still go there. I try and get there every year, even if it's just for a weekend, to go and surprise one of my best friends for her birthday or a wedding or something. And I just thought, you know what? Actually, what is the end goal here, right? Mm-hmm. Because I've been here 4 years. That's 4 or 5 years. That's just gone like that, right? Mm-hmm. You apply for that permanent residency. That could take a year, or it could take 4 years, depending on the paperwork and stuff. And then you've still got to be in the country when you've got PR. So all of a sudden, this is the journey, and you are staying, 2-3 days away from the rest of your family, which are based in mainland Europe, right? Mm-hmm. So I politely declined. I went, actually, I'm going to turn my back on this part of my life and go and spend some time with my family in Spain. As I was changing planes, I decided I'm not a London boy, I decided to catch up with some friends and what have you in London. The telephone kept ringing, and I pretty much told the industry that I wasn't interested in working. I was a bit burnt out maybe, mm-hmm. and I just was going to have a year out, right?
So it wasn't that you knew exactly what you want to do. It was more that you knew exactly what you don't want to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. It was more. I had not seen my family in a number of years. You can't just jump on a plane. Not like a 2-hour Ryanair flight, right? We can from here we can go from Malaga Airport as you did the other day, right? Yeah. It's just 2.5-hour flight, and within 15 minutes you're sitting in a bar on the beach, right? Mm-hmm. And then if you wanted to reverse that the next morning, you go back and you can still be sitting in your office in the centre of London.
So it's a little bit more difficult,
right? Yeah. There's planning, and it's bloody expensive as well, right? I mean, you're talking thousands of dollars return ticket nowadays, right? And just out of professional integrity, I went and saw these people offering me a job, politely declining, because my reputation's everything. You can't just say, "No, not bloody interested," and put the phone down. Yeah. And a beautiful woman called Kate Chambers, she was on the other end of the telephone, and she said, "Look, we don't really know each other, but we're connected. I hear, you're sort of a bit of an expert at this particular part of events, which was the turning around certain sales functions within the within the events industry." She said, "I run ICE. We run the world's largest exhibition conference."
And back then, you didn't really know what ICE is.
No, I mean, ICE is something you put up your nose or smoke, right? Or put in your drink or put in your drink, right? But I thought, she said, "Look, it's happening in February. It's now November, mm-hmm. yeah." and we could do with somebody like you to come in, shake things up, and you can go. You can go and do your year out in February after ICE. So I sort of spoke to my dad and I said, it's really interesting, it's the casino business and stuff. And he said, well, you should really stay and go and do that. He said, because you could become irrelevant very quick. Mm-hmm. He says, you can have your year out, but just not now. Like when someone's offering you like that sort of thing, do it, right? Mm-hmm. He says, you can always finish in February and come and have a few months off type of thing, right? And I took her up on the job, and that's how I got into the gaming industry. It was just after the Earl's Court moved to the XL. Uh-huh. And that's how I got in the gaming industry. Yeah.
So you were there in the backseat, like doing all that. Awesome.
Great team over at Clarion. Yeah, and still are a great team.
And you spent with them how many years? Like.
Yeah, I mean,
couple.
Yeah. I mean, there's sort of like 6 or 7 years, something like that.
Right.
Over at Clarion.
All right.
Yeah.
So the real question is. You were doing meaningful stuff. I mean, everybody in the industry knows ICE, and to be the part of the ICE is like, wow.
Yeah. And to actually help build it is an honor because we're just a guardian of that event. That event has been going. There used to be we found it in one of the people's. I've got photos on Facebook. I'll send them to you. You can load them up. Mm-hmm. There's a second edition of the Amusements Trade Association, which actually is ICE. Right, So we were still invoicing. I don't know whether Clarion are still invoicing as this, but it was the amusements trade on the invoices to sponsors and exhibitors. It still says that, right? Or it did say that up until recently. And I found a hardback agenda style diary. And it's the second edition. It's like from 1942 or something like that. And before COVID, I think the only year it didn't happen at Earl's Court was when the Blitz was on or something like that. I mean, up until COVID, right? It was a continuous thing, and you open that, and it was all end of the pier games and things, like dodge 'em cars and shoot the packet of cigarettes off the top of the and it's just a beautiful piece of history, and that event was an absolute honor to be a part of because it had. We used to have this name around the office, this word around the office called charisma. Very few. I've been working in events for a long time, right? And some of them are fucking boring, That had charisma. The team, there was an energy. There was such a passion on putting on something so different. We every year had a different theme. It was, so important to the industry, and from an events organizers. I used to remind people, we're not just putting an event on. We are actually guardians of this event for this because this event will keep going on way after we've left the industry or even passed on, right? Mm-hmm. So it's so important to the industry, that event. It's the beginning. It's gaming Christmas.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, you could talk to anybody from all around the world. They're gonna be there. If they're in the industry, they're gonna be there.
Beginning and end of sales cycles as well, right?
Oh yeah. But majority of the people who are watching us are founders or managers of let's face it, smaller companies than Clarion, obviously. And what I get when I talk to them off the mic and without cameras is that quite often the major feeling that they have most of the time is being scared. That's being they're scared of what if I'm not doing it right. What if I'm just lucky now? What if...
The imposter syndrome as well, right?
Yeah, that too, obviously. So let's deep dive into your head. The moment when you said, well, if Clarion doesn't want to go into that training thing, obviously they must have some reasons. And then you said, well, I'll take it and I'll do it. What was going on in your head then? Was it like you said... I'm so sure. I know what I'm gonna do. I'm so sure of the success here that it's just a matter of doing it, and I'm gonna be like, in a place I want to be in a year from now. Or was it like the act of being desperate that
sheer panic? Yeah, sheer panic, and also back against the wall. I think you sort of mentioned to me some weeks ago, like, what is the main driver between, people beginning, starting businesses, right? And it's amazing. You speak to not just gaming people and big business, right? You plumbers, self-employed plumbers. The future actually. That's not going to be really. If you're telling everybody at the minute, if you want to keep a job after AI, you better be a plumber, right? Because I think that's the
totally agree. Yeah.
But I think we all start our business journey because our backs are against the wall. We've either been fired. The job, you sit on the toilet in the morning and you can't bear to go into work because you've got a terrible manager, or the culture's wrong, or you don't like, or either the company is making people redundant or whatever, and your back's against. I think most people who start businesses, right, actually start businesses. We were talking about the communistic times where. In Poland, you inherited the business. Yeah, we were speaking about that just off camera, right? And now it's a case of, you're starting businesses, right? And we're coming up with ideas. But actually, most of that, most of us, I feel, especially me, is your back's against the wall and you're forced into this situation. I never dreamt when, we were developing the training academy over at Clarion. Sometimes it was a pain in the arse as well, right? Because we were not a training business, we were an events business, and it was sometimes felt like a square peg in a round hole. I liked what it was doing. I liked the people which were coming. I liked watching the people learning and developing their careers off the back of it. I could see good from this thing, right? I never once dreamt that I either wanted to have that business. The back was against the wall. Suddenly COVID was on. People's jobs were at stake. We'd put lots of blood and sweat and tears as a team into building this thing, and just the rumor of something like this was going to be available, and up for grabs. I wasn't going to let anybody who'd not put their blood, sweat, and tears into it take it from under us, right? It's something I didn't need the hassle at the time, Luckily at that time, sort of, financially I was okay, not a multimillionaire or anything, right? But financially I was sort of comfortable, right? But it was more of the, damn you, and, the wolves circling to try and take this off the team and the consultants and the trainers who have actually, we've all put blood, sweat and tears into this thing, and no one's going to pull the carpet from under us and just, take the name or take the content, right? So our backs are against the wall, and it's the same in I think you'll find in lots of founders. There's a shock horror moment where all of a sudden you find yourself on a journey. You've gone through a door, going, I sort of know what's behind this door, and then suddenly something happens, and there's a big drop or a staircase or a rope or a parachute, and you're just suddenly grabbing something, right? It's mostly out of fear, very rarely out of greed. The people that do it for greed, sometimes it works, right? But mostly out of fear, and unfounded fear as well.
How about the financial perspective? Because, as you said just a while ago, you personally, financially, you were quite okay. But in terms of
I was on the up again. It's just a roller coaster, baby,
small moment.
Bourbon and bad decisions, right? And sometimes the bourbon and the good decisions come out.
But how about the company itself? Was it profitable from the day one? I suppose no.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
The reason for that is because of my contacts. I was a big adopter of LinkedIn right from the beginning, right? So every single person I ever did business with, had a telephone call with, I used to call 100 people a day, right? I'm when I was running these sales teams, I was actually in the trenches with them, leading from the front and showing them, not just being an armchair general, but actually being in there and, leading with the sales and sort of, Mickey taking a little bit, I've only done 50 calls and you've done 100 and I've turned more sales around or got through to more people, right? But every single person that I spoke to, I would add them on LinkedIn. I've got my own personal database, right? And also that database for me would convert a lot higher we're still heavily reliant on because you're following those people through their career journey as well, right? So I was very fortunate that by the time, especially working on something like ICE, right? You're in contact with every part of the industry. You suddenly, if you're aware enough, not clever enough, if you're aware enough, you can network and move and shake. And in something like something like ICE, which is one of SBC's doing, is moving into that space now, right? But something like ICE, which is, used to be a slightly heavier land-based, but it's really is an industry-wide collective, right? So you've got your iGaming companies, your sports betting companies, your land-based companies. You've got your regulators there. You've got the whole industry in front of you. Why wouldn't you leverage that? Why don't you just, even if you're never going to use those contacts, for God's sake, just have a relationship with these people because they're interesting people. You can learn from these people. They might even offer you a job if at some point. So we were profitable. And we had very little cost, don't forget, right? I mean, we moved from a face-to-face business when it was with Clarion to a pure, and because of COVID, right? Luckily, we digitized everything before COVID and moved to an online style platform. I just ran with that. I just ran with this online style thing. So you're no longer having to fork out deposits for the Hilton hotel rooms or the Marriott hotel rooms. You're not having to fork out flights for trainers because they all like flying business class for some reason, right? I mean, I fly FedEx where possible, right? It's more fun, right? I'm like the gypsy guys on the Titanic. I'm dancing on the tables in third class. I don't want to be dancing the waltz upstairs, right? So our costs were significantly lower, right? We adopted a lot of technology, early adopters of the clouds and stuff like that, right? To keep those costs low, right? Because, of course, we also didn't know what's coming out the back end of COVID. Yeah. We're all locked down, scary time. Will there be a world after COVID, right? Are we all going to die, So it was a case of, in the leadership tool bag, it's, right, so what tools are we going to bring out here? It's like, well, let's cut as many of the unnecessary costs. We don't need an office. We don't need an amphitheater. We don't need a training room. We'll do this all online, right? And of course, your mark, and use LinkedIn and use our contacts and stuff. And we hit the phones and we did it the hard way, right?
So what was your hiring strategy? I mean, when you started, you keep on saying we. Was it somebody?
Nobody's a self-made person, right? So, we. So when we turned it into the Gaming Operations Academy, the trainers came along with me.
Okay.
Yeah. And a couple of other people were helping either full-time it's one man is an island, right? I mean, it's a lot more fun when you're on that island with multiple people, right? You can also eat them if you need to, right? but no, it's a we thing. It's certainly not an I thing. Good God, if it was left to me, fuck. We'd be having a very different, how did you lose it all for the fifth time, Adam,
But, well, speaking of the structures that you were building in the first place and the structures that you have now. So, for instance, it's pretty impressive what you said a while ago, that you are present on so many markets, I mean, geographically. But does it mean that, for instance, in Brazil, that you have some kind of country manager or like...
Yeah, very fortunate. So Liliana... I share her with Clarion, actually. It's sort of a hangover from those days, and it's wonderful because she's an absolute specialist in the Latin market and Brazilian market. She's very well respected. She's like the mama of Latin gaming type of thing, right? So she looks after the Latin business. I show my face and kiss babies and what have you now and again. But she's the she owns that part of the business.
Okay, but I'm trying to get some learnings from you that we could share with whoever is listening to us. And I suppose there was this moment where you were running the business on your own with, of course, the trainers, instructors, and those people. And at some point you said, well, okay, so if I want to enter new market, I need to invest a little bit.
No, we were already there.
Oh,
As part of the Total Gaming Academy. So Clarion was at the time where they were sort of thinking about launching an ICE Latin America.
All right.
Yep. So they were doing a hell of a lot of heavy work down there in Latin America, trying to build the networks and contacts and things, and trying to help the market move forward. And you know, we were part of that. You know. So we were, we came naturally. I mean, it helped with me speaking the language. You know, we spoke earlier, you know, I look like the guy off the Lucky Charms advert, right? But, you know, speaking the language and actually not a posh, actually speaking like raw, you know, and understanding the culture as well, you know, the humor behind it and stuff, and not just being sort of a middle-aged white man trying to speak a language, you know, actually being part of that and actually, you know, telling the dirty jokes and things, actually relating, you know, on everybody's level, right? That helped. That certainly helped. So, you know, we were fortunate to the fact that we'd already built those relationships, trying to build the academy in its original form anyway. So, you know, having the reputation, you know, and the trust, you know, and also the goodwill, right? And nobody wanted to see that academy die off, right? You know, there's people love that thing, right? You know, we love that thing. So just moving our stuff from there to there to there, you know, it's a relatively easy process, you know. Very fortunate from that end. But we'd already put the blood, sweat, and the tears in before, right? Very different story right now if I was to set up and was not known and didn't have the contacts and try and enter you can't enter the Latin market and the Brazilian market without actually being one of them and being part of the I use this phrase gamily, right? The family, the gaming family, right? It's relationship based, right?
It is.
They've already learned their lessons from the colonial times of people coming over, raping them of their gold and taking it back. Yeah, we'll all be damned if I see that happen. You know, I'm not even Brazilian, am I? And I'm talking like we don't want that. We don't want that to happen with the gaming industry out there. So I'm doing my damnedest to try and protect that in my own way. Yeah, I don't want to see outside organizations coming in and taking that money back. If those outside organizations want to work in not just the Latin and Brazilian markets, but in the African market as well, right? We want to make sure that they are investing in that country, employing local people, making real commitments and real purpose, yeah, and even giving money to real charities and making a difference and making sure that, you know, the industry is also seen to be, we are seen as tobacco and alcohol and prostitution. Yeah. But actually the money that we have, we can actually do a lot of good with that money. You know, now there's a different argument there about ill-gotten gains, right? But, you know, anybody outside that's coming in has to make the real investment in Brazil, you know, and help the people on the, you know, and actually help the people. You know, and I'm very, very passionate about that bit. People look at me like I'm crazy and mad as a box of frogs, right? And it's funny, like this little ginger guy who used to formerly be ginger, like running around sort of waving the banner for Brazil and Latam, you know, but and Africa, but I'm fucking passionate about that sort of thing, right? It's the Irish in me, right? It's the rebel in me, you know?
But I'm trying to distill what you said about setting up this business and to put that into like a kind of bullet list. I'd say you didn't say that directly, but the way you're talking about it and the way you I think you built it, agile is the word.
Yeah, you got to be agile and nimble.
Yeah, it's not that there was this one day that you sat down next to your computer, you created this massive Excel file with massive list of KPIs and, you know, awesome theoretical plan what will happen. It sounds more that you simply
we just did it, right?
You just did it, yeah.
We just Nike'd the hell out of it,
yeah.
Right? Because that goes back to your other question, like why do people set up business? You just fucking have to do it sometimes. You just do it, right? But let's not also forget, right, that cometh the hour, cometh the man, as somebody said to me once in Australia in a business situation. Cometh the hour, cometh the man, right? And cometh the person. That's the woke way of saying it, right? Life leads you up to being able to make that decision of going, just do it, Yeah. So in that tool bag, we had those processes. We had the business acumen. We had sales process, the marketing process, the hiring process, the confidence in your team process, the integrity process. So the just do it actually becomes, yes, it looks like you've gone into this without a 5-year business plan, right? I mean, we weren't borrowing any money for this, I've got no one to leave that money to generally anyway. So for me, I'm a little bit more safer because I can make these wild decisions. And if they don't work, well, it doesn't work. I've not got babies to feed, right? So it leads up to that from, growing up with a father who had a small business, watching my mother do the accounts on the table in the ledger, yeah? You're running around, but this stuff's sort of being hardwired into your disco duro, as we say in Spain, right? Your hard drive up there, right? And so your tool bag is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So when you do come to that point of saying, let's just do it, it can look reckless, and some people will go, but we weren't looking for investment. We didn't go into the bank and say, I've got this great idea. That's a completely different story, right? But yeah, no, you do like this on the spot sort of this intuition, this gut feeling. We can do this. We're doing it.
All right.
And sometimes out of spite as well. Sometimes, like we were saying earlier, it's like, fuck anybody who's going to try and take our hard work from us. We've got to do this.
There's this term. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's called BHAG.
BHAG?
BHAG, big and hairy goal. So what it's about is that you need to set this up. It needs to be just one thing. Like, for instance, we're going to be the best training company in gaming in 10 years or whatever. And all the other things that you do, all the other plans, all the other KPIs are like leading you to that BHAG. And those plans could change. BHAG couldn't. So it sounds kind of this way that you kind of... BHAG, yeah. Let's use that opportunity that I have you here. And you are in this rare position that you talk to a lot of people and a lot of companies that are either trying to enter the market or they did enter the market, something went wrong, and they are in a position that, shit, we need to learn something. We are doing something wrong. So the question that I have for you is, what do you think about the current state of iGaming? I don't mean land-based, I mean online gambling and gaming. Was the state, is there any space for smaller companies?
Absolutely.
Because, you go to, we've been to SBC like a week ago. You enter the hall and it's like, bet construct here, soft to bet there. They're so huge.
Yeah, walk around the edges. That's where the exciting stuff is, right? Go to the smaller stands, the people that are trying to break into the market and what have you, That's some real interesting conversations around there. Good, bad and ugly conversations, right? There's some great innovation, we're talking about AI and technology and stuff. Things are moving so fast, and iGaming is actually a terrible adopter of technology.
It is, yeah.
We feel like we should be at the cutting edge of this shit, right? We should be there in Silicon Valley. We've got to use all this, and we really aren't, right? Which is a shame, because the people that work in this industry are the brightest minds, incredible. The geeks and the nerds. It's wonderful to hear. And the industry is just so, and that could be because of regulation and different conversation there. But the middle bit doesn't, the middle bit's important to me, because those are very important companies within the industry, and they'll probably swallow up some of their competitors and things. But it's the small guys, the guys in the startup zone, the guys in the player protection zone, the guys that have bought a $3,000 stand, and everything rides on getting a deal because otherwise they might not be able to afford the next one.
Yeah.
There's some very great, there's some great companies that are coming that are out there on those.
And this is where innovation is.
That's where innovation is.
All right.
The bigger the company, the less the innovation. And no doubt some of your viewers will turn around to me and go, you don't know what you're talking about, because we've got the funds to do it. We've got we put, X number 100 million into an R&D department. The bigger the company, the fatter you get, the more complacent you get, right? And the slower you're able to make those nimble, agile decisions, right? The smaller companies are so great, because they're one company on a Friday, and on Monday, just because there's been a few sleepless nights over the weekend, because I've just realized there's another opportunity. They pivot, and they can pivot, and they can outsmart you and outrace you. you know. You lose that nimbleality.
Is that the word?
Yeah, no, it's an atomism, right? But you lose that when you become a much bigger organization, and also you lose focus as well, right? You lose focus on why you're doing it for, and you do stupid shit like you buy out a competitor that has a great piece of technology and then don't use it. That happens a hell of a lot, right? There's an argument for taking out your competitor, buying them and closing them down, buying them and shelving that piece of technology, right? I get that, right? But often a lot of these companies are buying up their competitors for huge multiples, right? I mean, it's scary. I don't swim in that world. I'm just a son of a second-hand car dealer, right? I know profit and loss and net and gross, right? I still live in a world where, are we arguing over 4 times multiple on your turnover, or is it the profit? And, fuck EBITDA, because I think that's the biggest con in the world ever, right? It's incredible that those big companies there are spunking up so much fucking money, and they generally want to try and implement this piece of technology, this great piece of technology, that just gets lost in paperwork and process and getting agreements for this and getting the 14th manager to sign off on that. There's a great scene in, I'm a motor racing guy, right? And not Formula One, I'm more into sort of classic car racing and also Le Mans, 24 hours. Okay. And there's a beautiful film about one of the best racing drivers in the world ever, Ken Miles, right? And it's Ford versus Ferrari. Matt Damon's in there. There's a great scene where he's going to see Mr. Ford Jr. or the second or whatever he was. And he's sitting, he's going to be brought in to be hauled over the coals because he spent a lot of money on developing a racing car, right? And it wasn't the end result, what they wanted at that point in time, but he obviously was developing this racing car, right? And he's sitting there in the head offices of Ford, and he's watching when he's going from one office to one office to one office to go and do this meeting. He's watching the same red envelope with a document in it being passed from one person, signing one person, and it makes its way to the man's office. Yeah, and he sits there. He goes like, "You got to let me just develop this thing, because if we follow your process, well, I'm going to be like that little red, what do you call it, folder, yeah, and it's going to take forever just to get into your office. I got into your office quicker than what that piece of paper did, and that's stifling, it stifles things, right? The process just stifles things. So the small companies, there's always room for small companies because they can do it better. They haven't got the legacy systems. They haven't got the legacy technology thing. I mean, you can even copy an existing, quite, influential solutions provider, whatever that solution is. But because you're 5 to 10 years later than what they did, you could cry in your soup and go, the market's all taken up, right? We're never going to do anything. But if you offer a more modern product without the technology legacy systems, you're more nimble and agile, and you offer great customer service. Great customer service, right? Something special, like just knowing your customer's fucking birthday for one of them, right?
Yeah.
You will gain a hell of a lot of traction. You can break into any market that way. Look at SBC. I mean, it will take on, the ICE type of events, right? Because they offer great customer service, right? And they're more nimble and things like that, So, nobody would ever have thought 10 years ago that there'd be an event, an additional event in the gaming calendar.
True.
That would have 30,000 people attending it.
True.
And lo and behold, what have we just experienced?
I never thought about it, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And you think, not another event in the gaming calendar. But because the customer service is there and the angle's there, there's definitely fucking room for two, maybe even 3. Yeah. But you can always break into a market.
All right.
Always.
So do you have any numbers or at least gut feeling? How many of the new business, say operators, if that's the easiest?
iGaming.
Yeah, in iGaming in general, how many of them actually survive I mean,
what we're talking about, online casinos, are we talking about? Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting conversation, because obviously, we look at our data.
Mm-hmm.
The beautiful thing about our training courses is they're so down a niche vertical, right? So yeah, we've got the general thing of the iGaming, how to build an iGaming business, how to build a sports book, 101. But then we break that down, right? Affiliate management and this, that, and the other, right? We break all those job titles down. And our sweet spot, weirdly, we'd love the tier ones, and we do have one or two tier ones, but actually the sea that we swim in are startups to about 8 years old, right?
Okay.
I used to say 5, but this whole 5-year business plan thing seems to have gone out the window a little bit, right? I've never adhered to it, right?
All right.
You grow when you're ready, right? Or artificially. There's another conversation right there. But so we swim in that startup to 8-year, the newer sort of thing, right? And we watch these things grow and come around. I was like, I'm going to do some analytics here. And some of the data was telling me something along the lines of, 1 minute it was 75%. That suddenly I can't find any rhyme or reason of being around it. Sometimes it was 90%. And I thought, this, I'm not looking at the data properly. So luckily through our connections, I started chatting with my buddies, right? And this is a mixture of CEOs of B2Bs or high-ups in big billion-dollar companies, right? And also B2Bs, B2Cs, so the casinos themselves. Yeah. Some of the numbers which were being bound around is 1 in 4. As many as 90% don't survive. And then I spoke to Elliot Banks, a very, very good friend of mine, known him from the land-based days. He used to sell roulette wheels for a wonderful firm called Kamei, Andrew Kamei, true gentleman. Beautiful bespoke boat roulette wheels. Sometimes when you watch a James Bond film, I think they are the Kamei wheels. They're just beautiful. Mm-hmm. And before I give you the number, the interesting party trick that Elliot can do is he wears glasses like you and me, right? He's got terrible eyes. And that's because when we were younger, he could actually do this great party trick, and you need to get him in. We need to get some roulette tables in. He could judge the speed of the ball going one way and the roulette wheel go the other way. Within 4 pockets, guess what number it was? Now he's getting a bit lazy. You have to go on the old 0 or 00, depending whether we're playing French roulette or not. But get him on here. He can do that party trick. But what Mr. Banks collared me about the other day is he said, actually, he said, I've done a little bit of research on this because he's doing some amazing stuff in America and raising money and operations and stuff like that. He's raising venture capitalists and all that. You'd have to speak to him. Really interesting guy.
Looking forward to it, yeah.
And he said, he says it's 70% of white. I'm not always an optimist, right? I'm a proactive pessimist, right?
Well, you're talking to a Polish guy. We're pessimists by definition.
Plan for the worst, hope for the best, and make sure you've got, backup plans all the way, because those plans will go to shit. Mm-hmm. So he sort of said, from his research, and this sort of seems, it makes sense against my data, right? So sort of 70% fail. Between in the first year, if it's a white label, regardless of market conditions, right? Regardless, right? So that's a 30% success rate,
which is quite high.
Which is quite high, right? That's really positive, right? Obviously, it comes down to your business plan, your funding, how you're going about it, and things like that. Don't forget, there's a massive. There's so many variants with that question, right? When you actually think about it, because you've got. You've got your license, you've got your unregulated, you've got your crypto casinos now, right? So there's a variant in all of this. In all of this, right? Unregulated, you'd expect. We're seeing more. A bit more of a success rate.
Okay.
And then when you bring it down to turnkey solutions, it's about 30%, something like that, right?
30%
Which fail. Yeah, fail.
Okay.
Because those ones, I used to, you would have thought that, on the turnkey stuff, where you go to one of the big guys and they're basically handing you a casino on wheels, right? Mm-hmm. you'd expect people like, I'm just going to say me, yeah, or the Joe who's got a Joe in the street who's got, you know, a couple of $100,000 to take a punt on that, right? But actually, what you sort of find is they're very well planned, yeah. They're very well funded. They are already in the background building those relationships with affiliates and understanding the market. So that's a real positive thing there, right? So they're a little bit better funded and what have you. The interesting thing is what we're seeing from our data and also from the Banks Institute. He'll probably change his company to the Banks Institute now. Is about a quarter of those that survive, and we completely see this, change their platform providers and their solution providers on the first year, you know, between the first and the second year, right? Because it's still, you know, is my product right? Am I attracting the right, you know, I want to attract the big players, but am I actually attracting grandmas, right? You know, so you find your speed and your audience sort of within the first 18 months, yeah? And because you've picked this platform, it's not quite right for actually where the business is going, right? So there's our golden opportunity there, sort of a year, 18 months into the cycle, yeah, of opportunity of helping these operators grow new games, maybe, you know, new platforms, the fraud thing. They find their motion, right? They find their way, they find their journey.
Well, we kind of witness that as well. I mean, quite often the operators that come to us, they were based on either white label.
Because you've got a gaming studio, right?
We do have gaming studio, but we also have the simply development services. So quite often the operators would come to us and say, "Hey, so far I've been working on turnkey or just white label, but right now I need a little bit more because it's not sufficient. I need to customize it more. I need to be more careful about this and that." And some of them are looking for some kind of USP or UVP that those pre-made platforms wouldn't deliver. So they come to us. So it's kind of...
You're feeling that, right? You're echoing that.
Definitely, yeah.
That's cool.
All right. So, but what's your take? Because those numbers are big, as you said. That probably comes from the, as you said, right planning.
But actually heartwarming a little bit, right? Because it certainly seems like the more are surviving than you'd probably expect.
Oh, definitely. Oh yeah. So would you say that's just a matter of also the market itself growing, or just more and more smart people are getting into it?
That's a very interesting question, right? I think it's a hybrid of both.
Okay.
Right. A lot of people taking their knowledge from bigger companies and going alone.
Oh yeah, we see that a lot as well.
You know, the nimble, agile thing again. I think this Sesame Street episode is going to be brought to you today by the letter, by the word agile and nimble,
yes.
Right? Entering. They can enter new markets a bit quicker and easier and things. I think it's a hybrid of the both, really, when you think about it.
All right. Let me give you an easier question. We have to talk about AI. Everybody talks about AI nowadays, so we need.
Well, as the education secretary in America called it the other day, A1. Did you see that?
No.
Yeah, we're going to be rolling out. We're proud to be rolling out education to the primary schoolers, and we're going to be rolling out A1 education. A1.
Well, okay, awesome to have this kind of leadership. Okay, I'll give my statement, and I'm curious what you're going to say about it. Just getting back from SBC, you would find the word AI or A1 on every single banner. Everybody would brag about it.
How disappointing, right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look deep down into it...
There's no AI.
There's no AI,
there's
right?
No AI. Bullshit.
Okay. Yeah, okay,
it's really annoying for me, right? That's weird. But anyway, I'm butting in on you. You've just triggered me. And that's why this got vodka in here. Right?
No, actually, that's triggering me as well.
Yeah, I wasted a lot of fucking time talking to people.
Okay. Thank you so for that. So yeah, that was an easy question indeed.
Was that your question?
Yes.
Yeah, fucking AI. I mean, it's the buzzword, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm looking for. We've got some great AI content and training, both e-learning and live training, right? And the problem with it is you've got to keep on it, right? Because everything's changing week to week and day to day and hour to hour, right? So, you draw up a training course and you've got a 3-month lead time into that training course. You sort of, you need to always tweak something. But the AI course, we're tweaking it on the morning of, because something's just chat GPT-4 or this, that, and the other. And of course, we're also dealing with the problem of what we're experiencing. You've just come back from Texas, right?
Yeah.
There's a huge difference between what you guys, and the quality of the AI technology in America to what we're seeing here in Europe.
True.
Big difference.
Huge difference.
Big difference.
I would say in Texas, especially in Austin, everybody's focusing right now to improve existing AI processes which are already in place. Mm-hmm. So this is the phase of improvement. While in Europe, I have this feeling that everybody's focusing on regulating that stuff, not really doing it.
Interesting. Well, a lot of people here still think ChatGPT is AI.
Yes. I love conversations with affiliate managers, which they say, well, yeah, we are an AI-driven company because ChatGPT creates the content for us, which we post into our WordPress SEO generating traffic, websites. Like, okay, seriously?
Is that all they're doing?
Yeah, that's AI-driven company. I mean, don't get me wrong. That's a huge thing.
It's a buzzword, man. To these guys, it's a buzzword.
Yeah.
I'm looking for B2Bs, right? Whatever that provider is, to partner with us on, and this isn't a call out, but this is getting back to your story, right? About, you see AI on banners and things. I'd walk up and actually there's nothing fucking about AI about your company. So actually you're useless to me and you've wasted my time.
Yeah.
Right? AI companies which are completely offering sort of that whole end-to-end AI and not just about, data analytics. Mm-hmm. Actual real AI technology out there, which is going to transform our industry. Mm-hmm. And weirdly, they are out there because we're talking to them, right? Mm-hmm. But as we said earlier, they're sort of slowly moving into the gaming space. Where actually
very slowly.
They should be in there right now, right?
Yes.
And I'm trying to convince them that they should be moving into the gaming space now. Of course, they've got the connotation of working in the gaming space, right? Mm-hmm. Especially in the United States, because online gaming isn't legal in every single state, right? And we're still moving there on this domino effect. We're getting there, but it's still, but it really pisses me off. When you walk around those, that was the part of innovation that was missing in some of these conferences.
Definitely.
Now it could be a regulation thing, right? So I've not been to America for about 6 to 8 months, right? So a lot's changed in the last 6 to 8 months. Mm-hmm. So because of the lack of regulation, we've got this sort of, let's just deal with the European Union and America at the minute, right? Ideally, there should be a global regulation to keep AI as safe as possible, right? But that's not going to happen, right? Because that's never going to happen, right?
Not going to happen.
But we're having this problem at the minute where it's not regulated over in the US, correct? Mm-hmm. And it's now becoming quite pretty heavily regulated here. And that's going to start, and now we've got to find the balance, right? Because we don't want AI to ultimately kill us. We need to slow down somehow the advancement of AI because we're not ready to all lose our jobs, mm-hmm. Because the human race needs a purpose, So there's a whole bunch of problems coming in this way, right? So you've got to slow. You're never going to stop this thing now. This thing's going to happen, and within the next 50 years, 10 to 50 years. I mean, depending on how fast this thing starts growing, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to be dealing with super intelligence, right? Whatever the phrase people use then. So we've got a thing here where we need to balance regulation, make it as safe as possible, right? We've got to try and slow it down a little bit, maybe, right? Without losing our competitive edge, if there is a competitive, to foreign actors which can be seen as maybe enemies of the state, whether that's mm-hmm. individuals or whether mm-hmm. that's whole countries, mm-hmm. right? I think I delivered that in quite a political way.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
Because they're just going to kick ass and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? Or we've got to try and convince the AIs somehow to like us and not to get rid of us ultimately, right? There's a whole argument around that as well.
Well, yeah,
right?
that's why whenever I ask ChatGPT for anything, I end with thank you and please, and better be safe than sorry.
You must be like a little cyber terrorist because you're costing ChatGPT just by saying thank you. You're costing them all to. Please don't say thank you.
I am, but still worth. It's
of
worth
the rebels, right? I like the protest.
But a little bit more seriously. I mean, it's not really that in Europe I feel that we cannot do something because it's already regulated. It's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that state in America, well, in Texas, they are proactively working with business to create, say, a new data center. I think that's going to be a pretty new, huge data center just outside Houston, built.
Such an exciting place for all of this at the minute, Houston, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems to be the center of the world all of a sudden when it comes to US technology, innovation, things. It's all moving away. I might be talking shit, right? But I certainly get the impression everybody, all the talent and everybody's falling into Houston. Right?
I would say more Austin rather than Houston. Houston is more oil and gas, and it's like slowly getting.
Texas is sort of taking the crown away from Silicon Valley and stuff, right? When it comes to
yes,
there's a bit of a brain drain, is there?
Definitely. It's all because taxes. Because of taxes, California is like super expensive to be in.
You can't drive your big pickup trucks and
that's
fire guns and shit, right?
That's a side benefit of it. And to live comfortably in San Francisco, you gotta be CEO or some big ass investor and person like that to live comfortably.
Just the overheads are crazy, right?
Oh, it's crazy. But then again, if you want to live comfortably anywhere in Texas, even Austin or Houston, it's still reasonable. It's still okay, and that's the main reason why everybody's like moving.
And a fun place to live.
Well, there's a reason I came back to Europe. So
I thought you just came back to Europe to see me.
Obviously, of course. But no, seriously, I moved back to Poland. I'm not getting back to Texas anymore. That part of my life is done now. So yeah, and I'm pretty happy about it to be fair. But getting back to AI in our business, it's so funny to see that. That you kind of see that as well from your seat. That. We have a massive tool in our hands, which we kind of don't know how to use. I mean, we as people from that industry. So we prefer, I don't know if you're familiar with the term FOMO, fear of missing out. So I have this feeling that every single iGaming company treats AI as a thing they want to have, but they have a FOMO that everybody else have it already. Mm-hmm. So they claim they use it, but they don't.
That's changing, right? If we had this conversation January, totally agree with you, and that shows up in our data. Mm-hmm. Like same with the esports question back in the day, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody would come along to the free AI and the free esports training, but then they would generally want to come to the paid-for training, but they could never get sign-off because the companies wouldn't take it seriously enough, right?
Okay.
Now what we're seeing, and I've adopted it in my company, right, is for there's call centers now which I know of which had 7,000 people in, right, at the beginning of the year, right? And this is multiple company-wide now, right? So the call center is a wonderful indicator, right, of what's happening. Yeah. Before the summer, one of those in particular went down to about 5,000, right? That's how quick. Mm-hmm. And now they're on 3,000. We just come back from the summer.
And it's not because they're losing business.
And it's not because they're losing business. It's just they no longer need this. So the Industrial Revolution, I heard this somewhere the other day. I've always compared this, and trying not to panic as well, right? Because you and I have lived through multiple political and technological changes in our lifetimes, right?
Correct.
And, I'm sure our grandparents, when the Industrial Revolution happened, right? Whoa. this is going to change the whole world. We're all going to not have any jobs and things like that. The internet, but there's always that initial panic, and yes, there's section of people. This time's a little bit different, right? Because it is going to affect everybody, right? And it was put into. So I've always compared it like that, but I had a little bit of trouble sort of putting it into words. I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was delivered something along the lines of, think of the Industrial Revolution as being, the people with muscles lost their jobs, right? So those people that were digging the ditch, they lost their jobs because machinery and mechanized, took over, right? This now,
it's quite the opposite.
It's well, yeah. Now it's sort of I say an attack. There's pros and cons with this, right? And I'm trying not to be too negative, right? We're all going to fucking die anyway, right? The sun in a couple of billion years is going to fucking explode. So this might just speed things up a little bit, right? But this is sort of without trying to sound patronizing or anything, but this is sort of an attack on the on intelligence and entry level jobs, right? So the call center is a wonderful example of that, right? So all of a sudden, you've got people who would go and work in a call center trying to pay their way through university. And let's not forget now, universities have got a fucking problem, because they've got people now. We were speaking to a girl in a pizza shop in Lisbon at 1:00 in the morning last week, having a wonderful conversation with her, not a drunken conversation. And she doesn't know what to do now, right? She's sort of working out. She's just left university last year, can't find a job because actually AI's now got her job, right? So she's having to now look at retraining and things, and the plumber thing keeps coming up, right? The call center thing, that's now cutting that down to a quarter of what it was before, right? And we haven't even started yet, right? My business, the mundane, boring, click, copy, paste type of tasks is now completely done by AI, right? That has saved in our little company, because we're not a huge company, right? That has now saved something in the region of about 48 hours worth of work each week. Now, that's not huge, right? But you can scale that up, right? I mean,
but it's just the beginning.
That's just the beginning, Now, I promised everybody that, and I'll keep that promise, right? That we will treat this as it will take the boring tasks off you, and it will allow you to do more creative and sexy stuff, and use this as a stepping stone. Now, we don't use AI in marketing or any of the actual touch points of face-to-face. Well, I don't know how to describe that face-to-face, but if I send you an email, that's a personal email from me, right? Now, I may have copied and pasted some of it, and I may have added, but that's me, right? When we're putting out marketing emails, that's us creating that, We are now looking at ChatGPT just to give us some wordsmith and how do we, have we got our facts right? And we're obviously double-checking the facts, right? But that human-to-human bit is still vitally important to us, but it's quite scary where it's going to go. I mean, you look at let's break this down, right? So the VIP bit, right? VIP and CRM, yes, the obvious bit's going to, so en masse, it's going to be able to actually analyze and pick out who are your VIPs. It's going to be able to analyze your data a lot better. That goes without saying. But then the personalization side of it at scale is something which human, you could have a team of 1,000 people and you wouldn't be able to do it as quick as and as good as the personalized birthday greetings to your VIP, the personalized game selection or stuff, the chat bots at the minute, that'll probably end up being with your own personal AI assistant following you through your life and then offering you which games to play. You look at the KYC, the fraudulent thing, the documents. Shufti, Roger, Max, Ronaldo and the gang doing marvellous things over there. They're using a hell of a lot of AI there to combat the whole fraud. Because what about if an AI creates an AI to go gambling, right? And they do the retina scans and things, and actually this stuff's starting to be really fucking good.
Well, you think online poker players are not using AI? You naive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so they're doing some great work there to combat that. The only problem is with all of this, it's like you're always going to be one step behind. The good AI, there's going to be the battle of the good AIs and the bad AIs, right? And they're going to have lightsabers, and it's all going to be wicked. It's going to be intergalactic wars, but you're always going to be one step, like we are always one step behind the hackers and the viruses, right?
But then again, that leads me to the conclusion that it will create new jobs that never existed.
It will. It's going to be great for healthcare. It's going to be great for the cosmos and how we can find cures for cancer and HIV and all of that. It's going to be good from an administrative thing. So maybe on the healthcare side of it, you're going to have one doctor that's actually able to see 10 more patients a day than what he was able to do before. And that's going to happen the same in the gaming space, right? It's going to be a battle at the minute over the next couple of months and years where you're going to have the AI assistant helping the human. And that role's then going to be, and I think it's actually changing now while we're speaking, right? Where actually it's the AI that's in control and the human is the assistant, double checking, fact checking, right? Definitely. And I think that's happening right now. The responsible gambling thing, right? This is a scary thing, right? Where do you let AI talk to somebody who's calling in, emailing in, trying to say help? Where does the human get in and where does the multiple choice sort of thing? When AI, and we're almost there, starts to get emotion or whatever that thing's called, right? So where I could call you up in a call center and, be crying down the telephone. You get that empathy, you feel that, and maybe you fuck it up and maybe you don't, but there's that human connection there. AI doesn't have that at the moment, but when it mimics or actually does that, where's that going to go, right? Which departments are you going to actually open up, and how much are you going to open up to AI, right? And the problem is, it could also wreck it could also wreck our industry, right? Because if people are losing their jobs, right, then they're not going to have money. Even if you talk about universal basic income, well, if everyone's on universal income and have no purpose, they might start gambling, but there's not going to be enough money to actually be gaming, right? So it could wreck the gaming industry. Yeah, you could have AIs playing the pokers and stuff like that in the background, and probably happens right now, right? So it's something we need to be aware of, right? And we need to embrace it at the minute, right? And use it as an opportunity, whilst knowing that this thing could actually be the downfall of our very existence, but more importantly, the industry, right?
I mean, those things. Well, looking at how adoption of AI goes in the gaming industry, I think that we are safe for at least a couple of years now.
Not if you're in a call center. No, and the sad thing is, you and I have gone through companies where we start at the bottom, right? And we work our way to the top, right? And that's the bit we're going to miss, because suddenly those entry-level jobs, vitally important, but they're also, you're learning the business from the bottom up, right? And we're going to lose those, right? You're going to lose the creative jobs, your game design and development, right? Yeah. The gamification side of it. AI is going to do a great job first, doing the gamification thing, but then it'll become quite stale, I think, because you're going to be relying on the analytics and the boring side of an AI, right?
True. Speaking of boring sides, for those who are listening to us and are having this FOMO right now, the best way to think about AI in your daily routines and how you work on a daily basis is think of the tasks, not the ones that take you most of the time. Think of the tasks that you hate most.
Correct.
And create an AI agent for that. Start with that one. And that will improve your personal, efficiency and
plus the happiness, right? Your personal happiness.
Oh yeah. Which then again transforms into effectiveness and all the rest. All right, we're slowly running out of time.
Got definitely a call from Karen in Basingstoke, or
so I'm gonna see you tonight at the.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a great gathering. The last one was excellent. Yeah.
Thank you. So we do talk more about AI, and we actually try to exchange know-how, what actually in details what we do in our companies. So meetings like that are exactly the place to talk about those things. But as for the podcast now and today, ladies and gentlemen, that was Adam Roebuck.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's been an honor.
Likewise.